There's only one path you really should be taking, and that's through the middle, because you want to get a free boat ride to that charged Trident area. At least with all mages. There's other events and things you can have later, but for now, that's it. Lightning Book is really good, as is Quill. Quill is actually really good because all of our mages are going to be playing some books in some form or fashion. Wilbur is going to be getting charged Trident later, so it's not really worth it on him, but especially for Zek and Cornelius, it's fantastic. And then, of course, I have to remove all the Death's Doors before I think about spending any money elsewhere. And yeah, just a little bit of deck management here. It's, an important part of the game. You want to make sure your deck's as thin as possible so that you can have the most optimal turns, especially when you're going Alpha Strike, because they need to die turn 1. Historically, also, it's hard for me to know whether I am making the best possible chance for an Alpha Strike to occur. I'm still not amazing at it, but I'm trying my best. And it helps with some experience on these runs to kind of get a feel for what cards were useful in this act versus what cards weren't. So one of the things that's really good here is Superconductor. It's a great card for Wilbur. Water Jet is good. It applies wet, but I want to be spending my energy on as much damage as possible, not on ramping up damage. Heat Wave. Now, there's a reason I actually keep this card in Cornelius' deck, and that's because I want to upgrade it. Because upgrading Heat Wave makes it so that on all heroes, you get rid of Frost and Wet charges, which you want for the Hydra Fight, otherwise they end up dealing a ton of damage. Quill is great for Cornelius because when you play a book, draw a card, which he will, a lot of his cards are useless, but you want to see Rains as often as possible. I also want to buy Chumpy so that I can have Downpour on turn 2. And that means I won't be able to buy Lightning Book, but that's fine because Wilbur would be dumping Lightning Book halfway through this anyways. Also, Scroll of Resurrection. Not a bad thing here because you probably have people die.
Yeah, so going on actually a little point you mentioned, for anyone that's trying to do a self-wet build or something on those lines, trying to really use baptism and other things, be very wary of both the Lightning Seahorse and Hydra. It gets out of hand way quicker than you have any idea. So,
yeah, because they get all that additive damage too. And as you can see, that's how we're killing enemies. They do the same thing to you.
But we're doing it for them.
Yeah. Which sometimes enemies do it for you as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Winter Orb, one of the best cards Evelyn can get, at least early on. Repeating damage is what you want to do because every time you hit, it gets that additive damage of the wet charges. So repeating an attack 5 times means that you're doing the damage that it says it's going to do plus those wet charge damage as well. So it's good. Similarly, you want Ball Lightning with Wilbur, but that's a rare card, so you can't buy it till Act 3 anyway. Maybe you get lucky and find it. Here I'm debating whether I want Shock Nova in my deck still. Sometimes it's bad to have too much AoE, so yeah, Shock Nova is good. I want slows. I make it cheaper because I didn't really feel like I needed to do more with my shards, except I did forget something, which was to upgrade Heat Wave. Also here, it's so funny to me because if I didn't have this Boots of Swiftness, the bunny is one of the few enemies in the game that outspeeds you. It has 24 speed as a boss, and it speeds up the entire enemy team to be faster than you will ever go, and gives them all evasion, making the fight hell. But
I am speed.
But because I got Boots of Swiftness, I was able to outspeed the bunny and make this fight possible. So one of the reasons that you want to farm for Boots of Swiftness, probably over any other in this game, is because if you get Boots of Swiftness and you don't make it to the Dryad, well, oh well, you didn't spend too long on the run. But if you don't get Boots of Swiftness and then you have to fight a bunny, your run might just be over. Or you have to do really well in the rest of your fights and not take any damage. I think even this fight gets a little bit close. Also, God, that owl does so much damage. And here you can see I'm not able to speed up my heroes enough. They're actually a little bit too slow. So this is one of the reasons that you want to keep slow cards in Zek's deck whenever possible. Or get speed items on your heroes, just so that they can be that much faster. Especially Evelyn, because Evelyn can apply Frost and potentially slow them down that little extra bit that you need. Yeah, Evelyn's turn here ends up being pretty good though. I get to play Winter Orb and all the rest of my cards. Applying that chill is really nice for the second turn as well, because it means that you're likely going to go faster. That said, this fight, right straight away, is a big challenge. I mean, I want to say, like, everything's kind of a challenge for mages. Again, I didn't know if this run was even possible. Like, you don't have healing, you're slow, you can't block, there's not a lot going for you. Outside of, you have some really good damage cards, and you have Energize and Inspire. But, yeah. Here already, I'm taking so much damage, and the shackles on top of it is just like, really? And the bunny, of course, when you kill an enemy, they like to spawn other bunnies. They'll actually do that turn 2 regardless, so if you haven't killed an enemy yet, they'll try it and just fail and not play another thing, which can be good sometimes, but unfortunately I take too much damage. So I want to kill as many enemies as possible before they go. And even now, Wilbur's going to die very quickly. I wanted to play Shock Nova, but I can't, because if I do, I'll hit Thorns.
And someone will die.
And then I'm like, well, I guess this is my last card. Cool. And he dies to Thorns. So, again, another Wilbur death. This isn't great. Could this fight have been played more efficiently? Almost certainly. Will I do the fight again? Depends on if Evelyn ends up killing the 2 bunnies. You know, sometimes, like, you just have to choose whether you want to play perfect or not, or, like, how much damage you're willing to take per fight. For me, I still didn't have that much faith in this run, so I was willing to take a little bit more damage than maybe I should have, and let Wilbur die, which maybe I should not have done, because him having weakness in his deck is going to be painful. But you can take that individually, how many times you want to reset a fight, just to do it a little bit more optimally. Sometimes there's not a path to victory as well, so sometimes you've lost and have to know when your run is over. Fortunately, that wasn't this time. And hopefully I can get a remove a card challenge soon. Ideally after I get Charged Trident and after Wilbur's level 3. War Banner here is a really good pickup. Bandages. I'm also like,
yeah, more
well,
bandages.
You know what? He's recovering health with his Soul Lantern, but what if he healed the whole team?
What if he recovered, but potentially slightly more?
Yeah. So here you want to help the leader of the Crocmen, because you want a free boat ride to the middle. And yeah, not too much more to say on the fights. Like, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. It's really nice to have those Curse of Exhaustions as extra slows, because that guy was 22 speed. He was going to get to attack first, and now he doesn't. And yeah, this fight usually is really easy, but I get kind of a So it ends up not being as good of a fight, and I have to also manage my damage on the front lizard to make sure they don't go. The other lizards going, they don't do a ton of damage, so it's kind of fine. And then you can kill them round 2 before they go, because they're also slow. Also, that superconductor, not dealing a lot of damage because there's not a lot of wet on them, actually. And I get a death's door in the very beginning.
That
Which is...
those death's door really like to be bastards, don't they?
Yeah, it's really not what you want. Like, that lizard is nowhere near dead. They need to die. So I have to take a reset here. Man.
They are just cruel, to say the least.
Yeah. Death's Door is something that I have to plan around, so now that I know that I'm going to have a really weak turn and not be able to do too much damage, I should focus all my damage on the knife-wielding lizard, because they hurt badly. This will make...
They hurt my feelings.
Yeah. And I can draw more with transmission, because I know I'm going to draw Death's Door anyways, so might as well play that. Evelyn should not be playing Superconductor. She needs to deal single target damage. It needs to make it stick. I'm still wanting to give that extra transmission to Wilbur, because even with Death's Door, he can deal a good chunk of damage. And then I can play Unstable Powers to pump that up even more. This is so Wilbur's card where he applies Spark on enemies is actually a really good card, because one, I mean, once Spark starts dealing damage at the start of an enemy's turn, it gets a lot more powerful. But then two, even the Spark, wow, that's Spark damage killing. But every application of Spark decreases their resistances, so your cards just start dealing more damage from the get-go. So it turns Divine Power into more of a damage card than it already is. Again, you can see, like, round 2, mages are pretty good at actually being able to go first. Something that scouts struggled with quite a bit, actually, was going first on round 2 as well, because they just didn't have as much access to slow or chill. Whereas mages get AoE slow and they get chill, so it makes that a little bit smoother, even though taking any damage kind of sucks. But with the bandages, at least I'm healing quite a bit. So I know I can afford to take a little bit more damage than I normally would. Though I will say, like, I had a run where I had purple Forest Crown, and it was a lot more solid. So
Purple Forest Crown is amazing.
Best of luck to you if you do end up trying this at home. This is why you want Superconductor.
Oh.
Yeah.
What would you say is a good beginner tip for people trying this? Maybe not Madness 16, but for people that if they want to do a little bit of a challenge or just try all mages, what do you think is a good tip or tips?
If they wanted to try all mages, maybe not Madness 16.
If for some reason they wanted to try all mages, maybe Madness 16, maybe not.
I mean, if you're doing Madness 16, do what I'm doing, except play better when I mess up.
Be better.
Yeah, like, genuinely though, like, I think, like, this video is my guide if you're trying all mages level 16. Maybe we'll make a more condensed guide, because this is going to be the full playthrough. But I think this is the best route to go. I don't think there's much more room for improvement, because you need the speed. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I would follow this guide pretty closely. I don't think there's too many more viable options for all mages on Madness 16 in particular. Now, other Madness levels, I don't know. Probably like Madness 10, you could get away with all mages. You could probably do like tanky mages. You could have a little bit more fun. Frostfire probably becomes a lot more viable. Enemies are just slower, usually. So, I guess it really depends on whether you're doing levels or the modifiers. Because if you're doing the level 8 madness, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
That still makes it really hard. Like, enemies are still really fast, but not having like random combat encounters is really helpful. Yeah, I don't think I have too many more tips, but I will say like Cold Snap on Evelyn. I can maybe give tips for deck making. Cold Snap on Evelyn is really good. Well, Cold Snap on any mage you're taking cold cards with is really good. It reduces the cost of a card by 2, even in its base form. So it saves you an energy regardless, and you play a Frostbolt for 1 energy cheaper. Like, that is just going to be good. It's even better when Evelyn has shifting scrolls, or sorry, your mage has shifting scrolls, and you can discard your Frost card that you want to play into the graveyard and then pick it up with a Cold Snap. Even better when the Cold Snap is upgraded to cost nothing and it saves you more energy. For all those reasons, take Cold Snap. Cold Snap is great. Squall here I picked up on Cornelius because, again, Cornelius' deck is bad and Squall applies Wet and Frost, so it just does everything I kind of want. It does a little bit more damage because they're wet too, so it's just good card overall for, honestly, anyone but Wilbur. This fight, because I went the path that I did, it should level me up. If for whatever reason it didn't because of some weird event failure, I just didn't have quite as much experience from the first act, which does happen sometimes. Stealing from the Crocman village is actually very important because they will give you a combat right before you're fighting Charged Trident, meaning that you can guarantee level up to level 3 before the Charged Trident fight, which you want to do because they are all electric enemies, and they will hurt. They resist your main sources of damage really highly, and they will do a lot of damage to you, even though they don't have a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Icicle Barrage is the question. Do you take it? I don't think I do because 2 energy is still a good amount. Huh?
I wouldn't take Icicle Barrage.
Yeah, it's a good card. It's just I'm not all in on the Frost theme, so again, here I'm just like, well, leveling up Cornelius' HP. Yeah, it looks like it is +5 on everybody, by the way. Not too much to say about the level ups here. Zek, you might as well take the perk that reduces his energy cost if he has enough dark on him. Here's the combat for the fight. Cornelius, take Firestarter. You don't want to take the other one because you don't want to apply burn when you play a spell. Evelyn gets the apply more charges perk, actually. I tried out the give 6 block whenever you play a cold card, dispel 1 when you play lightning, and powerful when you play fire. It just wasn't as good, and having more frost charges faster was very necessary. Specifically to make Shatter do more damage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say that's just a much better perk overall for this team composition. As cool as Block Evelyn is, and honestly, like, it's a great run. Block Evelyn's amazing. Do it if you get the chance. And
I like Block Evelyn.
There's again why Shock Nova's in the deck. You just get that massive slow. That means that next turn you do outspeed literally everything, and it made that one Croc who was going faster than the other team not. So, or than your other characters not. So now you have a chance to kill them before they go, which is exactly what you want to be doing on a team where you don't want to take damage. Also, I wish this Prismatic Field was upgraded. That's something else I could have done rather than spending the excess shards on something not that important. I could have upgraded both my Heat Wave and the Prismatic, whatever, the Mass Insulate card, so that gives everybody powerful. But I didn't, so if you are doing the same sort of run, make sure you do that. Those are guaranteed cards. Uh, interesting. Didn't feel like playing Cold Snap there. So yeah, here because I'm level 3, also Spark is starting to deal damage at the start of turn. I don't recall if the Spark damage is actually influenced by Wet at all. I don't think it is. But Wet does reduce the resistances of Lightning. So I don't know. In a way, Spark damage is affected or by Wet charges, but not in the additive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find a better Squall here, which is really funny because like I kind of want to just do that, and then I'm like, oh right, there's the upgraded Prismatic Field I should have. I should have done that. Now that I'm level 3, this fight isn't too bad, though. Something that you do want to do is actually kill the back person first, because they can purge and they can slow, as well as they will apply an enchantment on them that will deal damage to anyone who hits them. So it's kind of guaranteed damage. Now Prismatic Field is really nice for this fight because these are all dealing elemental damage. They do some physical as well, and sadly I don't have a card to slow the Seahorse here. But getting the mages, who already have actually decent elemental resist, up to even higher means that this fight is a lot easier than it otherwise would be. This is a nice turn too. Double transmission is really good. Lets Cornelius do his support job even better. He's slowly turning into the support mage that I want him to be at the start.
I like how he has Heat Wave, like he would ever play that.
Well, remember I was supposed to upgrade that Heat Wave.
Yeah, but I was about to say, it's like the only point of that Heat Wave is to remove the wet from yourself.
Right, which is exactly what you want to do, and that's all it does if you upgrade it. It removes wet and frost from yourself. That's why I remembered I had to keep, like, for this run, I know I had to keep Heat Wave in my deck because I wanted to reduce that damage from the Hydras as much as possible. Because they really hurt, and you can't kill them turn 1 because of their really high resistances and immunities to Wet and Spark on 2 different Hydras.
But
I forgot to upgrade it.
But you didn't do that, did you?
Yeah, it was late, but you should. You should absolutely do that for Heat Wave if you remember. Just because it's way better. Like, it ups your chances of surviving on the Hydra fight. Like, you can guarantee almost, as long as you draw it, get to like turn 3 or 4 and still survive. Alongside the Mass Insulate card. So yeah, that's why I kept it in the deck. I just was dumb and forgot to upgrade it. Yeah, you can see Evelyn takes almost nothing from those charged damage because she's got really good resistance. Here,
and Insulate. Yeah. Always Insulate.
Yeah, the Insulate. I mean, Evelyn does always have Insulate. That's actually her starting perk. Superconductor is a lot of damage.
It's a funny thing to say, but I wanted to bring it up because my brother and my friend are playing. Deciding to get into Across the Obelisk because of us. And your characters do have starting passive effects.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's important to definitely look at those. They all matter. Cornelius gets powerful and burn. Zek applies dark to everybody. Evelyn gets insulated at the start. And Wilbur gives energize to a random hero at the start of his turn. Here, really importantly, you want Curse of Vulnerabilities on Zek because this is one of the best ways to apply vulnerability that mages have, and Zek is the perfect person to do it because not only is it a curse, but he just doesn't have much more use on his turns other than speeding up and slowing down the entire team and potentially offering some support cards. Yeah, so another superconductor could be good at this moment in time, but you won't want it going further into the run, so it will be a card that you have to remove for gold, so opt not to take it. Very important, loot the chest and then climb up for the rubies. This guarantees you the charged trident. Luckily here, I find Cloak of Speed. Cloak of Speed is a fantastic armor. It's
What the hell is
100% the
Beer
armor that
Mug?
you want on Zek. It can 100% replace Forest Crown. Forest Crown now is a redundant item. You don't need it at all. And then Purple Charged Trident was just a really lucky find here.
Can't
Now-
believe that.
Yeah.
Never.
Here, let me go back slightly to talk about Charged Trident. Charged Trident, this is the selling point of this run, especially for me, over any other all-mage run. This item can be guaranteed as long as you go down this path and there isn't a epic event taking the spot of this common event that you normally find here. Yeah, it's more likely than not that you'll be able to get it. Sometimes you don't, and that sucks. Purple Charged Trident doesn't do too much more than regular Charged Trident, but it does give you an all-important +1 more wet charge, as well as a +1 more spark charge, but you don't really need that. The +1 wet charge that's hard to come by, so yeah. And then, of course, the real reason Charged Trident is amazing, because not only does it give you +3 damage and transform all your damage to lightning, but it allows you to apply spark and wet on hit. So now every hit is going to be increased by however many wet charges you can apply, which I think for Wilbur ends up being around like 3 or 4 with a purple charged trident. I think after getting Storm Tiara, it ends up being 4. So yeah, you're dealing 4 more damage to an enemy that you hit every time you hit them, plus the resistances that you're lowering, so it's usually more than 4 damage. Anyways, this is the best way to apply wet. Just Purple Charge Trident is the best way. There's also Purple Lightning Spear, which does a very similar thing. It's just slightly less good and doesn't transform your damage to lightning. The really nice thing about transforming your damage to lightning is you can take some other potentially more damaging cards, which, spoiler, I will find. Now, the reason you want to do that Evelyn choice right there is because...
I'll be right back.
Sorry. Yeah, if you fail, you will get a shameful reminder that you failed, which is a negative card in Evelyn's deck. But if you try to do the Cross the River on your own, there's a chance to put one of those cards in everyone's deck. Playing a spell card and giving resistances, I don't really want to take the risk at this point. It's something I might be able to deal with, but there's no need to risk the run on something that isn't going to help me too much. Neither of those options were very good. Prismatic Field here is a really nice draw, ups the powerful on everybody. Didn't have any spells in Zek's opening hand, so I couldn't play Shifting Scroll to potentially find Rain, because it would just discard it even if I found it. Squall, great draw here, alongside Scrolls of Intellects. Any Scroll of Intellect you find on Cornelius or Zek, you should take. Now, they're rare cards, so they're kind of hard to find, but definitely worth it. And yeah, you're about to see why Charged Trident is just oh so good for this run. And Wilbur can be a really amazing carry. Like, you can do this run in a much easier way with different characters that aren't all mages, but if you do have to, if you are going the Wilbur Lightning run, like, this is kind of how you want his deck to look. Drawing that weakness sucks, but fortunately I have Charged Trident this time, so they're all about to take a lot more spark. Unfortunately, I draw Twin Scrolls, and I want to get to double Shatter, but I can't play Shatter twice, so I'll have to settle for playing Superconductor or a Shock Nova. Here I'm having to still figure out like how much damage I want to deal to everyone. This won't kill anyone else, but it does slow the entire enemy team, so I can guarantee go faster than them the next turn. Let's see. Going on the wet and the lightning. Yep. As you see, Sparks applying to the sides also really matters now because it kills them way faster. Zek's Darkness application ends up being good here, except I forget that he is going to get one more dark. I don't realize why I get that extra dark. Actually, let me see. Oh my goodness, I think it's because of my enchantment. I apply 1 dark to myself. That is exactly what it is. So, whoopsie daisies. I end up blowing up Zek accidentally there, which is really bad. But I don't understand why, so I kind of just I roll with it basically. Yeah. Not good. Fortunately, he doesn't die. If he did die, I'd probably have to change it. Also, unfortunately, Wilbur gets silenced. But that is way too many dark charges. He applies 1 to himself, very unfortunately, and then, yeah, that 1 more dark charge from his own enchantment really sucks. I thought it was the enemy. That's why I'm looking at him there. But this is rough. Now, fortunately, I can kill the rest of them without Wilbur, even though he is silenced. I can just give it to Evelyn. Looks like I don't even realize he's silenced at this point, but that's fine. Evelyn should have more than enough damage to carry the rest of this fight because they're at so low health, and they have Spark that will be dealing damage to each other. So all I need to do is make sure that, yeah, that guy is low enough. We'll apply Spark, and look at that. Cornelius pitching in on the damage here. That's one of the other nice things about this run is like basically anyone can deal, anyone on the team can deal really good damage. Looks like I do end up restarting this fight. So yeah, I'm actually gonna take a little break right here too because my partner's gone. So I'm gonna stop the recording for a second and we'll boot it back up. So yeah, second time's the charm on this fight. Had to take a little bit easier time. Soul Harvest, dealing 1 or making me suffer 1 dark on the second turn. Definitely messes me up more than I would like. And unfortunately, Zek gets up to 24 dark charges immediately. So the second he plays the spell on his, or it's 23 dark charges, but then he gets 1 from his passive and then 1 from the enchantment passive. So as soon as he gets that extra or plays a spell, he dies. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully there's a way around that. I don't remember if I found a way around that or not.
You just kind of accept it.
I mean, accept it is a way to say it. Not realize the mechanics of what was happening is another way to say it. This time I'm at least playing Cold Snap. That's good. I'm not just like leaving damage on the table. So yeah, let's see. Knowing what I'm going to draw, I can play an unstable power, but I know I'm just going to draw into another thing there, so it might be better to do Superconductor with an electric discharge and hopefully kill 3 enemies instead of leaving 3 alive. So yeah, much better turn overall. This is why you want to restart a combat. It looks way better. Because he didn't have as many targets for the regen as well, because it jumps. Zek didn't die because he didn't have as much dark on him. So much better fight. Yeah, and honestly, this is about how it should look with Charged Trident. So definitely a lot of misplays on that first attempt there. But let's see, we got that Chilling Aura. Yeah. Next fight is the Hydra Fight. The Hydra Fight is a really major hurdle of this run. I haven't decided yet whether it is harder than the Dryad Fight or about the same. It's one of those two.
Yeah.
Firestorm is a cool repeat card, but unfortunately applies burn. I would absolutely take it if it didn't. Squall is another really good card because it applies wet, and Cornelius is applying the most wet. Also, it's electric damage now, which is even better for, did I say Cornelius?
You did.
Wilbur applies the most wet. Can't really rest. Don't have a lot of too low cost cards. You want to stand in front of either Malice or the top one, I forget what they're called, because you don't want them to have Insulate.
There's Malice, Scorn, and Hatred.
Yeah, so here's the problem with the Hydra Fight. They start stupid fast. Like, they start with 42 speed, you're never going to outspeed them. When I was choosing this path initially, I didn't realize that, and honestly, this fight right here almost made me give up on this plan. Charged Trident is very powerful, but you have the first guy who taunts, who's immune to wet. And then and they are super resistant to cold damage. So Evelyn doesn't help out too much there either. The electric one is immune to spark. So not as bad as being immune to wet, but still like really tough. And they have 85% electric resist or lightning resist, which is really, really rough to deal with. So yeah, and the fact that they always get to pull that taunt off and go first, it's quite painful. Now, you might be able to get around the taunt if you can make the Zek get up to 25 speed in the beginning. Because you'll go faster than 24, and the frost won't slow you down by 2, it only slows you down by 1. So, good turn by Evelyn, though. This fight may take a few attempts, because, man, like, I'm surprised it's even possible. with this team, because you have to take hits. Like, there's just no way around it. And you have to get past these guys who are super immune to what you're trying to do. Now, fortunately, the guy who's immune to wet is not immune to spark, so you will see he's taking a lot of damage from that. And also, fortunately, I get to kill him for turn 1 here. Didn't even need powerful. The lightning, this is why you want insulate, or you want to have heat wave, but I was fortunately very healthy. Yeah, there's that prismatic field that would have been nice the turn before. But I was very healthy at the start of this fight, so fortunately I didn't really need it. Sometimes you're not super healthy, so those are the times where you really appreciate having a insulate on your team, or having gotten rid of your wet and frost charges. But yeah, as you see, so far this fight's pretty smooth. Even though those guys are taunting, if I have enough AoE on Wilbur, I can kill the Hydra in back, and so potentially only the lightning Hydra gets to go again. Now, unfortunately, I need to rely mainly on Evelyn doing the damage there, and she has a lot of AoE or random cards, so it's unlikely. Yeah. Any questions you have about this fight? Anything I didn't go over, or?
Not exactly. I mean, it makes, like... It's funny is that, like, while in theory it seems bad, it actually doesn't seem the worst.
Yeah, I happen to get a pretty good draw. I normally don't kill the first guy who's taunting, turn 1. I decided to save my energy there because I was weak in that turn. Not realizing that guy was going to live, which was really dumb on my part. I could have killed him with an AoE. I was like, wait, I thought he was dead, but the skull marker wasn't there. Lesson for you all, pay attention. Now here's why that Precursive Vulnerability pickup was really great for Zek, because that guy who's super resistant to electric will now lose 20% of those resistances. So that means Wilbur can actually deal some good damage to them. Funny enough, it didn't even matter that I like kind of messed up. And also, Heatwave not apply. I'm like, wow, cool. I'm glad I have this unupgraded Heatwave in my deck.
It's so great.
Yeah, you see that made Evelyn die essentially. Me not having the upgraded version of Heatwave and drawing cards in a certain order, but I won the fight, and that's what matters. So, Recurring Nightmare. Because you have Charged Trident, this card actually ends up being the best damage dealing card for Wilbur to find.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Because it is a double attack card, so both of those electric damages get buffed by the wet. And you can repeat up to 3 times. So for 4 energy, you can attack 4 times for what ends up being like hundreds of damage each hit. So it is the best, and really, really luckily right here. I found a Book of Nightmares. Now you're actually fairly likely to find a Book of Nightmares on all mage run on somebody who
That's
isn't
true.
Wilbur. But Book of Nightmares is grant 1 Inspire and shuffle 2 Recurring Nightmare into target's deck, cost 0, vanish. Those are 0 cost Recurring Nightmares, which I just told you is the best damage card that Wilbur can now find. Even though they weren't originally light and damage, they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a huge help in the end game when you need to single target kill bosses. So yeah. So, Titan Gauntlets is another really good pickup that the Hydra guarantee gives because it's powerful at the start of turn. At this point, it can replace Evelyn's gloves or Wilbur's gloves, except Wilbur needs to take Storm Tiara because you want to apply as much Spark and Wet as possible, and it gives you +1 of each of those charges. So,
Storm Tiara is just, perfect.
yeah, non-negotiable, really. And, like, honestly, Storm Tiara does become a problem because you can't go to the Rat King to get a purple charge trident because there's no point. The main point of purple charge trident is to give you plus spark and wet charges, which Storm Tiara already does, and the Rat King will take your jewelry, which Storm Tiara is, away to make the weapon purple. So finding it as purple really is amazing. Alright. So yeah, money is good, Titan Gauntlets is great for Evelyn, and Storm Tiara is what you have to put on Wilbur, so that's just gonna be what you get most of the time. That said, it's not bad. The reason that I go Blue Portal, though, is because there is a really good book that you can get from the dragon. The dragon ends up... Oh, I can't show it. Well, yeah. The dragon gives you a... apply Wet and Frost to all enemies when you play a book 3 times as a weapon. And so that's what Cornelius can end up getting. Cornelius or Zek as a weapon. Both of them play books. I usually am picking up more books on Cornelius, so that tends to be better.